Desmond, in the continent, the Brexit has been portrayed as being a very isolationist, nationalist kind of a Brexit. Lee, would you agree to that?
Well, I can understand how that perception has arisen, but actually we see it very, very differently. We see it as a very much an outward-looking event. The United Kingdom is going to re-establish its place in the world, in the World Trading Organization and international institutions. I mean, remember, we have the fourth largest defence budget in the world. We are the world's second largest donor when it comes to international aid. We are a world trading power, and it's an attempt to actually maximise that. And remember, we're not leaving Europe, we're leaving the European Union. We will continue to want to cooperate on a whole number of very important strategic questions and issues with our allies and partners in the European Union. This shouldn't be considered as a divorce. It's just, we want to control our own affairs and our own democracy as Europe moves towards becoming a more integrated state. That was never our intention to be part of that. So it's proper that we should get off that wagon now and re-establish an open, outward-looking, pro-European and pro-world view.
What do you see as Britain's greatest foreign policy possibilities when you come out of the European Union?
Well, I want to see us re-establish our position in the World Trading Organization to drive forward free trade as a worldwide agenda, to restart some of the initiatives that have perhaps been dropped over recent years, moving the world more fundamentally towards free trade, and to champion that agenda for the world's poorest nations, the least developed countries, promoting trade there. Trade dwarfs aid in terms of bringing prosperity and economic growth. And so I think it's very important that we take a lead and champion that particular agenda.
Many people are concerned about, the EU is moving towards a common EU army and militarization of the continent. Should they be?
Well, that's a matter for them. I certainly never wanted any part of that. That's one of the reasons why I wanted the United Kingdom out of the European Union. But if the European Union chooses and its member states have an enthusiasm for integrating their military capability, then that is a matter for them. My concern would always be how will that affect NATO, which I regard as the more important alliance. But we will want to cooperate with whatever the European Union chooses to do in terms of its military integration. We won't want to be integrated, but we remain one of your principal allies, and therefore we want to remain informed and coordinated.
Yeah. If you take a country like Norway that is outside the European Union, but the parliament still implements a lot of European law, should people in Britain be concerned about that on the military level?
I can't see any reason why we would be concerned. That's again a matter for Norway. What I wouldn't want is a situation like that of Norway, where we would feel in any way obliged or committed to implement European law any longer in the United Kingdom. We want to make our own laws.
What may concern people a lot is that even though that the people voted for Brexit, it's still a very Remain parliament.
That is undoubtedly true, although all those members of parliament have said that notwithstanding their own campaign, their own vote, they accept the will of the people. We shall have to wait and see whether their actions are in line with their words. Certainly, the British political establishment was very much Remain, and there remain elements within that establishment that are grieving at what they regard as a catastrophe. Indeed, some are in denial. But the fact is that on the 19th of March 2018, the United Kingdom will leave the European Union. That is the law, and that will happen.
Yeah. But it seems afterwards that Britain has fallen into a more defensive position, that the clock is ticking on Britain to get a good trade deal and so on. But shouldn't the clock really be ticking on the European Union?
Well, it is, because the reality is that the European Union collectively has more to lose than the United Kingdom does if there's no deal. You know, the fact is that we have a very, very substantial trade deficit with the European Union. Let's face it, 40% of German automobile manufacturing output comes to the United Kingdom. You know, they would be mad if they were not to have a deal. For the United Kingdom, I don't believe for one moment it will be a catastrophe if we leave without a deal. But I think there's a deal to be had. It would certainly be to our mutual advantage to have a deal, and we should work for a deal. What we have to be realistic about is how much we're expected to pay for that deal and how much the benefit of having the deal will be. And there's a balance somewhere in the middle.
I think we both have a favourite in General Bill Slim, with reference to him that he said you have to bring a victory home to your men to encourage them. Do you think things will turn around when Theresa May comes and represent this country with her first victory towards the European Union?
Well, the whole theme of his book is defeat into victory, converting defeat into victory. And there are a number of principles there. But I think the one that I always take as the most telling is his principle in receipt of any news. Nothing is ever as bad or as good as first reported. You know, they'll always have a realistic view of what you're being told and what people are trying to persuade you. Nothing is ever as it quite seems.
He has very many great quotes also on courage. Could Britain, with this political stand right now, learn from Bill Slim and his views on courage?
I think we do. I think there's always a tendency. Let's be honest. Project Fear, as it was called, which characterised the Remain campaign, has not gone away. Every morning I listen to the news presenting every piece of economic data as if, you know, the storm clouds are gathering, it's going to be awful, and all the rest. We have to recognise, I think people need to be much more optimistic about the outlook. We have huge advantages. The English language, you know, common almost now throughout the world. The British common law legal system, one of the best in terms of doing business, making Britain a very good place to do business in the world. We have the world's financial capital in London. People are worried about losing business to Frankfurt or Paris. They're way down the league table in terms of, and then add to that all sorts of other advantages that we have in terms of our world trading capability. I think that we've got our leadership almost in the fourth industrial revolution. I think there are huge advantages that we have. My constituents, although they voted almost 60% to 40% to leave the European Union, they will have gone into that ballot box and it will have been a fine decision. They could have gone either way. And there were people who have been who voted Remain, who might easily have voted to leave. And I think the reality is that once you come out of a divisive referendum like that, and even I went into the ballot box, although I was determined to vote to leave, I knew there were risks and I knew there were costs. But once you've done that, you've made that decision, you essentially have to change your mindset and seek to maximise all the opportunities and to minimise the costs and reservations that you had. And that's the mindset you've got to adapt and adopt.
It seems like there's been a lot of, you know, talks about trade and trade deals afterwards. But do you think that's the biggest concern of the people, really?
I think the people just want us to get on with it. You know, let's face it, people have busy lives. They've got children in school, they've got mortgages to pay, they're worrying about their job prospects and promotion, all the rest. They might catch a few headlines in the early evening news. The notion that people spend a great deal of time thinking about this is, I think, an illusion. I think that you know, actually, we've just got to get on with this and to do it properly. With respect to trade deals, I am a bit of a sceptic, Nations don't trade with one another. Governments don't trade with another. Individuals and companies do. We have a very, very good trading relationship with the United States at the moment, trading well, and our principal bilateral trading partner, where we have a surplus. Do we have a trade deal? No, we don't. It could be better, but equally be careful of any trade deal which are made by governments swayed by large producer interests who have the power and the weight to lobby. There's usually some interest being pushed at the expense of others when it comes to big trade deals. I'm all for free trade, and if that's an agenda that's driven forward by trade deals, then so be it, but be careful.
And as you know, I'm from Denmark, a fairly Eurosceptic country, just like Britain. We join at the same time. What would be your key message to the Danish people that wants to leave the European Union?
Well, I think be optimistic, because I voted to leave the common market in 1975 in our last referendum, and I've never changed my mind. And I didn't want the referendum in 2017 because I thought I'd be on the losing side again, and I didn't want to be in the position of giving a whole load of new democratic legitimacy to the European Union with a second referendum. I thought it would be better for us to wait until there was another treaty and then have a referendum on that and reject that and be in a position to negotiate a better hand in the European Union. So I was surprised and delighted by the referendum result last year. So my message to be for those who are in the same position as I was in Denmark, don't be pessimistic. You can do this.
Thank you.